is there's always this rhetoric about, oh, well, we've got to take care of our people first. Oh, we've got to make sure that American citizens are taken care of. Bullshit.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're checking out a clip from Piers Morgan Uncensored with Krystal Ball from Breaking Point and conservative voice Clay Travis. They're debating ICE and immigration enforcement, and I've got a lot to say about it. So hit that subscribe button and let's dive right in.
The Democrats have just crashed to a new 35-year low in popularity. Trump has just announced a new trade deal with the EU, which is more advantageous to America than the previous deal. Are you prepared to give Trump any credit today?
I will give him credit for humiliating the Europeans effectively. But in terms of delivering for the American people, I mean, remember what we were sold originally? 90 deals in 90 days? How did that work out? And now we're going to have tariffs put on especially key pharmaceuticals coming out of Europe, not to mention European cars. So what you're likely to see is prices go up for your average working class American. So no, for the American people, I think that this is not even close to a win.
And reducing the number of people coming in illegally on the southern border from 10 million in 4 years to, I think it was 6,000 last month. You give him credit for that?
He certainly has cracked down on the border, no doubt about it. But, you know, the cruelty of this immigration system, we're learning more and more about the men who were sent to CCOT with no due process, who were raped and tortured and abused. We're learning more about the conditions in Alligator Alcatraz. I mean, it's a horror show, which is exactly why the American people are revolting against all of his immigration policies across the board, even though that had previously been a strength for him. Well, let me just clear up for your audience. I am not some liberal Democratic sycophant who capes for the Democratic Party and can never give Trump credit. In fact, in his first term, I actually supported the tariffs that he put in place because I thought they made some sort of sense. This term, there is virtually nothing, maybe changing like the pressure on the shower heads, that executive order, that I can get behind. And I'll tell you why, Piers. First of all, his major quote unquote accomplishment at this point is the big, beautiful bill, which will strip healthcare away from millions of people in order to fund a tax cut for the people who need it the least. Second of all, the level of fascistic cruelty with regard to the immigrant population here is more horrifying than I ever could have even anticipated. Deploying the military in American streets, rounding up people at Home Depot, sending them off with no due process to a slave labor camp. Are you kidding me? The idea that this is a peace president, hey, I thought he was going to solve the Ukraine-Russia crisis in a day before he even got into office. That's still ongoing. No changes there. We have backed and funded an absolute campaign of starvation and horror in Gaza, and we started a new war with Iran. So on every single level, this presidency has been a chaotic horror show and a disaster. And the people who will be hurt the most in this country are the very working class people that Trump claimed and lied to support. So I give him an F across the board. And again, I am not some Trump deranged. I've given him credit in the past. I said it was good when he went and talked to the leader of North Korea. I said it was good when he met with the Taliban to try to negotiate a deal. But he never actually had the stones to pull out of Afghanistan. But in any case, he's a disaster this time. I could not in my wildest dreams have imagined how terrible this administration would be and how quickly here only 6 months in.
Do you know, out of interest, Krystal, how many people Barack Obama deported in 8 years?
I know he deported a lot, Piers. But here, do you realize this, though? Clay said something earlier. He said, oh, we're deporting record-breaking numbers of violent criminals. Look, I'm fine with deporting violent criminals. The reality is that's not what's happening. Actually, the proportion of violent criminals that we are deporting is far less. Why? Because ICE agents have been told, stop chasing after the gang members. Stop going after the criminals because that takes time. That takes energy. Instead, Stephen Miller says, go to the Home Depot, go to the 7-Eleven, round up the mom, round up the grandma, round up the person who is going through the asylum process and actually doing the proper things and hasn't done anything wrong and ship them off to CCOT. It's disgusting. And that's why there's truly a revolt against it from the American public. I mean, the backlash against Trump's immigration policies is striking.
Yeah, I'm with Krystal on this one. She's completely right. What's going on in the country right now is honestly hard to believe. The next clip really shows just how out of control things have gotten. Let's take a look.
Hey, detain that lady.
The latest video to send shockwaves from San Diego immigration court through the immigrant community is actually not of an immigrant, but a 71-year-old U.S. citizen named Barbara Stone.
I was surprised. It felt like an out-of-body experience.
Stone was handcuffed and held by federal agents for 8 hours on Tuesday, according to her family.
This is from the handcuffs, so I have a large bruise there. I feel mentally and psychologically traumatized.
Stone, for one, is determined to go back and continue that work.
We are all immigrants. We all came from other countries. I find it surreal.
That wasn't actually my question.
Yeah. What is your question?
Well, do you know how many people Barack Obama deported in 8 years?
He deported millions of people. I'm not here to simp for Barack Obama. I think he had a lot of cruelty in his immigration system as well, which I said at the time and have said afterwards as well.
Okay, that's fair enough. Clay, in this immigration policy that Trump is prosecuting, I completely think what he's done on the southern border is brilliant. It's great for America. It's great for security. He's completely stemmed the flow of people coming in there illegally, and everyone should agree to that. I also completely agree, and I think most Americans would completely agree, that the strategy that he set out to do of deporting people who are here in the United States undocumented and then commit a crime, I don't hear any Americans demurring about that. They're like, okay, fine. If you commit a crime and you're here and you're undocumented, you leave. Where the problem comes, and Krystal hit on this, I think, it feels something very un-American about ICE patrolling Home Depot to find people who may have been there 10 years, may have had kids in the United States, may be paying taxes, doing an honest day's work, who may be here undocumented, but who actually are contributing to American society. Do you not have a problem with those kind of people being rounded up in the way they are and shipped out of the country?
Tom Homan says there's 20 million illegals in this country right now. We know Joe Biden let in around 10 million in his 4 years, which is an unprecedented stem of illegal immigration. So the first thing Trump had to do was shut down that flow. Second thing he has to do is start to reverse it. And this year he is starting to reverse that process. I think it's unfortunate, but when you break the law, sometimes there are going to be stories that are important to get back. In the same way, when you were in Venezuela and somebody got on the phone and they said, hey, if you come to America right now, they'll put you up in a hotel, they'll feed you, they'll give you Wi-Fi, and you get to stay in Manhattan. And you're living in squalor in Venezuela. Do you think that encouraged millions of people all over Latin America, those kind of phone calls, to make the trip to America? I think it did. And at some point, American generosity was being taken advantage of, and actual American citizens don't have the resources that they need. So sometimes daddy has to take control, and you have to sometimes be mean. And I think that's the way that the Trump immigration policy has to go, because the phone calls have to shift from, hey, you can stay in a 4-star Manhattan hotel and get taken care of on American taxpayer dime, to, hey, they're looking for people who are here illegally, don't come, and maybe even consider going back. And historically, the way that immigration worked in this country when illegals came in was they came in seasonally and then they walked back, basically traveled back to Mexico and still had lives there. What's happened is people have stopped going back to their countries of origin at all, and we can't be. I would ask to Krystal or anybody else, okay, you think it's being too mean. What's the number of illegal immigrants in this country that would be too many for you?
I don't agree with what Clay Travis said here at all. The way he talks about these policies like they're smart or good for safety really ignores what's actually happening to people on the ground. Like in the clip I just showed, it's not only undocumented people getting stopped, it's U.S. citizens, older people, regular workers, even volunteers getting caught up because the enforcement is sloppy. Clay tries to frame it like this is only about law and order, but that's not the full story. Nobody is saying don't go after people who commit serious crimes. Everyone agrees on that. What people are upset about is when innocent people get pulled in, questioned, or detained for no real reason. What makes his take worse is how casual he is about the human side of it, saying things like, Sometimes you have to be mean. Makes it sound like being harsh is a policy. But if being tough means families get separated, citizens get scared to leave the house, or the wrong people get detained, then that's not strength. That's just bad policy. And the funny thing is, this kind of attitude doesn't make America stronger. It actually weakens trust. When people see unfair enforcement, they stop believing the system is fair. Real security needs fairness. If we lose that, we're not protecting the country. We're just punishing people to look tough.
For Krystal, for anybody else out there, for me, 20 million is too many. For a lot of Democrats, I think 100 million wouldn't be enough. So where do you draw the line? If you're breaking the law, sooner or later, there have to be consequences.
So can I just
Well, that is a good
address
question.
a
And
couple things
Krystal,
about that?
yeah, Krystal, answer that.
I want to address a couple of things about that. So first of all, I'm probably more permissive of immigration than your average Democratic Party member. You know, I know there's this idea that Democrats are open borders. That's obviously preposterous. But I believe, and I think this is borne out by the data, that immigrants overall are good for the country. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a limit to the number of people that you can reasonably absorb. Exactly what that number is, you'd have to get an expert to study and to be able to say. But there's something honest about what Clay is saying here, which is basically like the cruelty is the point. We need to make an example of people. It needs to be a horror show. That's exactly why you have these grotesque ASMR videos of deportations, all this like fascist theater of marching everybody through the park, the intentional cruelty at Alligator Alcatraz, the shipping of people to CCOT, where again, we now know that there are reports of rape and torture and abuse. Yeah, that is all an intentional part of the policy. So I appreciate the honesty about that. The dishonest part is there's always this rhetoric about, oh, well, we've got to take care of our people first. Oh, we've got to make sure that American citizens are taken care of. Bullshit. This president just took healthcare away from 17 million people. He's cutting food assistance to millions of people. And you expect me to believe he cares about your average American citizen? This trade deal that you guys are so hot on is going to jack up the prices on pharmaceuticals, on medicine for your average American people. So, you know, where is the care and concern for the American citizen here? It's all just about scapegoating an immigrant population and saying they're the reason for your pain and your problems, when in reality, it's the very oligarchic class that Trump himself represents and serves and protects with all of his actions, including the protection of the Epstein files, by the way.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Krystal said at the end. She really pointed out the double standards that most people just ignore. It's wild to hear some of these folks say, we need to take care of Americans first, when their actions show the exact opposite. They give these big speeches about helping working families, but when you look at what actually happens, it doesn't match up. It's all slogans and sound bites, no real action. Krystal was spot on when she said that America First has basically turned into a catchphrase, because when everyday people are struggling with rent, healthcare, or grocery costs, those same leaders are nowhere to be found. They'll go on TV to talk about law and order or border control, but stay silent when it comes to helping people who actually live here and need support. It's just distraction, all noise, no solutions. And that's what gets me about Clay's argument too. He treats being harsh as if it automatically means being strong or right. But like Krystal pointed out, that's not strength, it's hypocrisy. You can't claim to protect citizens while ignoring what they're going through and blaming others for it. That's not leadership. It's avoiding responsibility. People are getting tired of it. The contradictions, the fake toughness, the empty patriotism. If they truly cared about Americans, they'd focus on fixing what really matters: healthcare, housing, jobs, and stability, not turning regular families into political targets. What do you think about what Krystal said here? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.